Hello, YBI family. How we doing today? It's your boy Zion and Roman again, back at you. I know it's been a minute, but see what happened was I messed up last time. Be real with y'all. I didn't hit record, so we lost our last episode, and now we got to redo it. So here we go. Welcome back.
Here's what we need to understand. That first episode, fire. I just need y'all to understand. We recorded for so long. This was probably the longest episode that we've done in like 2 years, and it slapped. But we're gonna run it back and it's gonna be fine.
We're gonna run it back.
We're gonna run it back and it's gonna be cool. Hi. Because
Hi.
we got to say all this stuff again.
Because it's YBI, and we know in YBI Young Broken Investments about ways and strategies to grow yourself and your finances through Zion's and I's lenses, and our stories and our experiences, kind of how we've been growing up as young professionals. Let's get into it, man. What we talk about today?
So today we want to compare renting versus owning a home. So Roman has been a habitual renter for as long as I've known the man, and I went straight from living with my mama to purchasing a house. And we really want to look at the comparison of why did we do that? Why did we make those choices? Were those the correct choices for us? Would we, make some changes? All that stuff. So let's just get right into it. So as a renter, do you think that this was the best move for you, to this point? Or do you think like, man, I probably should have bought a house?
For my situation, I think it was the best choice to rent, only because I think it gave me more flexibility to do what I needed to do, especially when it came to time to like move across the country to over here. It was like, okay, lease is over, let's go ahead and do it. In that case, but as far as like overall financial wealth growth, I do think that buying a house would have been a lot better. No matter what, in America, buying a house and owning land, owning a property is the biggest wealth builder you can kind of have. But as far as like saving money initially and the prospect of my career of what I've been able to do with it, by being able to move around a little bit, it was great. Being in Chicago, I grew up, and being in the suburbs for a minute, and then most of the time in the city for most of my life. So being able to then also live in different parts of the city and not just being in one or two spaces, being able to go to the north side for a little bit, go on the west side for a little bit, and see all of Chicago before I left, I thought was dope. It really gave me appreciation to like love my city and appreciate where I came from before I ended up moving across. So in those aspects, I thought it was great. I got to experience a whole bunch of different things in that way. So it was cool for me in that sense. That makes sense.
Yeah, I mean, I think that it's definitely like where you're at in life, like you don't have any kids, it's just you and Alex, and you guys have the freedom to start moving around and doing things like that.
We got Wesley, we got a puppy.
Oh yeah, they got the baby. I forgot. So, I was just at a very different point in my life, and I was like, you know what? I really want someplace that is outside of the city, because I don't necessarily want for one to be in CPS, but that's neither here nor there. So I'm thinking about the future. I'm thinking about children, where they're supposed to go to school. I'm thinking about the longevity. I'm thinking about, potentially renting something down the line. I'm thinking about taxes. I'm thinking about a lot of different things. So I think that when it comes down to renting versus buying, it's also like you have to look at where you're at in your life and what you're looking to do long term. I purchased this house with the intention of holding on to it forever. And I guess this is a good segue. Like, one of the misconceptions about like owning a home is that there are a bunch of additional fees and stuff. Like when it comes to like, what if something breaks? Like, what about my roof? What about this? What about that? I purchased this house specifically because of the HOA, the Homeowners Association, and the fact that they cover a lot of that stuff. So my roof covered, my siding covered, like a lot of exterior details and things are covered for me. So that was another one of the key details or features of why I purchased this particular place. And I was like, you know what? I don't want to be somewhere where I'm constantly throwing money at a landlord, but at the same time, I could be using that exact same money and I would still be covered in terms of the big expenses. Like $30,000 for a roof isn't unheard of. I don't have to worry about that cost because I'm paying $275 a month, and they're taking care of all the exterior stuff. They're shoveling for me. They're cutting my grass. They're doing all this stuff. And in theory, those are costs that I would have had anyway, but I just would have been giving it to a landlord who's paying somebody else to do that. So I feel like I circumvented having to pay the landlord, who's then going to pay somebody else. I just skipped all of those steps, and I was like, let me just pay you guys to take care of this for me.
That's true, because I would looked at it through the lens of like, I didn't really want to worry about any of that. I was like, hey, landlord, I pay them rent, they kind of take care of it for me. That's just two mindset and ways of just kind of going about it, which in some cases has been great for me, some cases not. I've had some landlords that have been awesome, who are very responsive, who get back to you really quickly, who are on top of it, a couple of them have been contractors themselves, so they can come by and fix it for you, or for the house, no matter what. I've had some that are terrible and have not hit me back, and even had one of my last plays I just realized not too long ago they were getting condemned because I know they just didn't run the property too well. So it really depends. When you are the homeowner and it is yours, you take pride in that and you take care of it and you make sure things are taken care of. But when you're renting and from some random management company or some random person, they might not necessarily have those exact values, or maybe just want to cash that check.
Yeah, but on the flip side of my very same point of having the HOA, and why I purchased this house, because I wanted to have it forever and I wanted to rent it, the HOA decided that wasn't going to be a thing anymore. So as of like January 1st of 2024, they were like, yeah, you're not able to rent anymore. So as a homeowner now, if I wanted to rent this property, I couldn't. I have to just sell it now. So the HOA has the ability to make addendum changes like that, and yes, it's voted on by the board, and we have the ability to go and but there's 70% of the community that's saying, yeah, we don't want people to be able to rent. So even if I did go and vote 70% to the 30%, I'm not gonna win that. So you have to be knowledgeable of understanding that the HOA can do things like that, and typically HOAs don't have the best rap. Like they don't. Like a lot of them have really poor reviews because they get inundated with a lot of different things. HOA's fees go up every year consistently. I've never been here and the HOA hasn't gone up, but what are they doing? Nothing different. But the cost of things are going up, so people are going to have to eat those costs, and that's not a fun process. But at the same time, I'm like, it comes with the territory, and that was just one thing that I recognized that I was going to have to pay when I first purchased the home. And I feel like it's worth it for me to, wake up in the morning after a snowstorm and my driveway is already shoveled for me. I appreciate that, y'all. Good luck. My grass was cut. Yes, y'all are on one. Appreciate that. So those are just things that I was willing to pay for, and I was just like, you know what? I would rather just take care of that and know that the equity that's building in this property is going straight to me and not going to the landlord. So I'm into that.
Yes, sir. That makes sense. And then also on the aspect of that, of the not only building equity, but also building like your credit worthiness and credit history on that note. Like you're making some like payments for something that grows that and helps that, whereas when you rent, it doesn't necessarily happen. Now there are a lot more resources nowadays to get your rent reported on your credit reports than there ever was before. I've seen a website called Built Before. Have not tried them yet, so we're just gonna throw a few things out here. But like Level Credit, I know there's like Rent Tracker. There's a couple ones out there where you can go on there. I think even Experian gives an offer on the like Boost thing to maybe do your rent. That can be very useful to finally start tracking your rent payments. So for all my renters out there, if you're not advice, but I think you should at least try to look into it, because you're already paying as much money every month anyway. You might as well get that tracked on your rent, because what do landlords do when they want you to rent out your apartment? They run your credit. Yeah. But paying your rent doesn't build up your credit. So I don't understand how that system does not relate. But at least there's ways in place now to somehow get that done. So definitely take advantage of that.
That definitely didn't make sense to me. And I was definitely like, you know what? I only want to run my credit one time. And I don't want to, because when it came to renting, it just seemed like the rug was constantly going to be pulled out from under you if the landlord decided that they wanted to go up on rent. If any of that happens, if you're coming up on the end of, like, I don't want to have to consistently move, but you don't have to worry about taxes. So let's talk about taxes. My taxes increased over $1,000 a month from one year to the next. Huh? I'm sorry, what?
And for what reason? Oh, just because they raising federally or state-wise, and
there's
probably state tax.
The county, if you look up Cook County is phenomenal at just finessing people out of money. There are people whose taxes increased over 200%, and they lost their house because they couldn't keep up with the payments because their taxes went up so much. So your mortgage payment is going to be consistent over the life of the loan. But your taxes, your escrow, those types of things can change. So the actual cost of the property is going to change from year to year based off of how your tax assessment goes. So our tax assessors came out and was like, yeah, your land is worth double what it was last year. I was like, no, it's not. Quit playing with me, because you're not going to give me double the value of what it was last year. And they were like, yeah, but eventually, like down the line. And I'm like, but I'm not paying down the line money. So I have to worry about going back and forth with a tax assessor, or I have to worry about eating that cost. And it's not something I can fight, because it's not the mortgage company. It's like the mortgage company that I'm paying is paying the county, and the county's just like, yeah, we just need that money. So I can't talk to the mortgage company because the money's not even going to them. So you got to fight with the county. You got to fight with, all of them to try to reassess your taxes. That's a lengthy process. And in the meantime, if you can't keep up with the payments, you probably purchased a house that was too expensive, but you're just stuck making those payments. So that's something that renters don't have to worry about. But as a homeowner, you have to have those types of reserves built in. So in the event that things like that do happen, because they do happen to me, it happened to everybody in my community. Like we just have to take that on. And it's not a fun time, but at the end of the day, like I said, I have a lot of equity built in, and I can grab that, and I don't feel like I don't have the risk of a landlord coming in and telling me, yeah, at the end of this 6 months, you got to go. And then I got to pack up all my stuff and leave again.
And then what is the, is there any, I believe is there any tax credits or deductions for making like on-time mortgage payments or anything like that? Like, is there any of that offset like when you do your taxes, or is it just whatever at that point?
So not for making your mortgage payments, no. Like you don't get any tax credits for that, but you do get tax credits for some of the interest that you can write off some of the interest on the loans. So, and you can
similar
only do that.
Loans are.
Yeah, similar to how student loans are, but the same way that you can't write off the tax, it depends on how you file your taxes. Like if I was to file married, filing jointly, I can write off like the student loan interest, and I can write off more of the interest for the property. But if I file married, file single, then I can't write off the student loan interest, and I can't write off certain things. So it depends on how you file, and don't necessarily quote me on that last part, but it depends on how you file. Absolutely. It depends on how you file. And I do know that you can get because your mortgage company, which I've had 3 mortgage companies this year, they keep selling my mortgage to other companies, which again, just another hassle. You have to change where your money's going and all of that. But, they send you a 1098-T, I think it is. And that's just like the mortgage interest. And you can just use that on your taxes. And I mean, it typically brings what you owe down if you owe, or you get a refund for a little bit more because you own a property. So there are some tax incentives.
Yeah, there's there's none for renting. I don't think I've ever gotten any type of. Only thing I've ever gotten for renting is really just writing off space for like office space or something like that, and that's something on a different side. So there's really no benefits there when it comes to renting. And as far as raising rent, you're right. Landlords kind of do that whenever they want. If it's written in the lease, or have to wait until your lease kind of ends and then you have to renegotiate or move. It's really one or the other. There is no kind of plus or minus on that.
I got a question right there. So you just said that you can renegotiate. Have you ever? Because I saw a video on the Tickety Talk. They said that you can negotiate your rent. Is that something that you've experienced or have done before, of people saying, yeah, your rent was $1,000, now it's $1,475? Have you gone back and been like, nah, I'm cool with like $1,250 or $1,275? Like, have you ever negotiated rent, or has it just been like, this is what it is?
That's usually happened to me when I'm first looking at an apartment. Like I've had some people who even like, they'll mess up their listings. Like, they'll have the listing for, I don't know, $2,500 or whatever. Then you go see it, go through the whole process, and they're like, oh, rent's actually $2,750 or $2,800 or $3,000. And it's like, no, I got the receipts right here. It says this rent's this much. Or you can also look at comps in the area. And if people don't know, that's comparables in the area. You look at other rental prices and say, well, the 3-bedroom next door that's for rent right now is $500 or cheaper. What do you have to pay for this? Are you giving me this? Are you giving me that? Or things like that. So you can negotiate for sure in there. I have a couple times in those instances where people have even tried to charge me more than before when I knew a listing was less and things like that. It's helped me a lot. It's probably saved me at least a few $1,000s here or there to do that. So definitely I'll say if you can, negotiate. Biggest thing on that is also getting into an apartment is having your credit right, or knowing how to negotiate if your credit isn't there yet. Because a lot of landlords want you to have a 720 or higher credit score just to rent a studio apartment for $1,000 in some random city. And it's really crazy to me that that's kind of like that. You can't negotiate most times with rent. Good landlords or good management companies like, hey, like what if I give you first and last month's rent? What if I give you this, that, or the third? And usually they'll work around that if they're workable landlords. Some of them are not. It's their like it is their place. They can say who lives there and who does not, and it's really kind of up to them. I wish there was more regulation on that, but there really isn't. They can deny you for whatever. Even if you have perfect credit, they can still say, no, we'll go with someone else. I guess the same way with selling your house. You sell your house to who you want to, but if the numbers add up, then you would still make the deal. So,
right. So I think that there's another point to be made of like when it comes, you tell me, like, I don't know. For me, I have a homeowner's warranty. So another misconception is like, oh yeah, you have to pay for everything. So if anything happens, like if your lights break or if your refrigerator breaks, like you just shelling out money for everything. Kinda, not really. So like my garage door broke. I have a homeowner's warranty and it covers everything, top to bottom, all appliances, all electrical, HVAC, everything. And my garage door broke. Called the company, they sent somebody out the same day, they fixed it. I paid a $100 deductible, whatever it was, boom, taken care of. My refrigerator broke twice. They fixed it the first time, they sent somebody the second time, and then they replaced it the third time. Like stuff like that, where people are just like, yeah, you know, homeowners are just constantly shelling out money for appliances and for electrical and for this, and as the home gets old, now you gotta, like, it's not that. So don't think that, I mean, you're just going to, it's not going to be cheap. Like, it ain't cheap, but you know, like you get a warranty the same way that you do for a car or the same way that you do for whatever. Like it's preventative maintenance type stuff. And I've used my warranty every year and I've gotten more value than what I paid for it every year. Why? Because I be looking for stuff. Like if I'm paying for this, I'm looking for stuff that's broken. Like, nah.
I think that's the key, and like just educating yourself, right? Is really like, hey, you know, I'm paying for this. Let me look into what benefits I get from this. Even if you pay for, you know, I signed up for AAA insurance, or AAA not insurance, but AAA membership this year. The added benefits they have, not even just for normal AAA stuff. When I went through the website and all that, astounding. Like they got, you know, identity protection and things like that on it. So it's really just knowing educating yourself. But like, hey, well, how can I get the biggest bang for my buck? And I feel like most people don't do that, which is why they might be paying for home and warranty or insurance and still going out there and buying a new fridge every 2-3 years because they didn't know it was covered in that. So I feel like that could be, you know, educate yourself, you know, go out there, read them fine prints. There is renter's insurance that you can get on a rental property or anything you rent. It covers most of your typical things like, you know, theft, something goes wrong or things get stolen. You can cover most things with renter's insurance. It'll cover fire, some places will cover earthquakes, things, all that jazz.
So I can come and rob you and your insurance will take care of it.
Yes. Like,
what's your address again?
You have it. But I almost said it online. I was say, oh yeah, you should know what it is. But yeah. But yeah, all that's covered in it, and it'll be fine. Most landlords require you to have it at a certain point. Like they want you, especially depending where you live, like you need to have renter's insurance, and it's in there. Now, in most cases, your landlord will cover general repairs. Like this is something I do not know, is whether or not those are covered in renter's insurance. Like if the refrigerator breaks, I know that's like landlord liability. It's not renter's insurance liability. Now we do have here, we bought our own laundry units, like a laundry and dryer, and those I have the Best Buy warranty on, so Best Buy will cover that. Like I've called them out a couple times to fix or replace it, and they come out here no problems and take care of that. So in those cases, yes, but anything the landlord bought, the landlord takes care of, and everything else that outside of their control, renter's insurance covers. Like even like if a bike gets stolen, you know, from there or from your apartment, you can usually have that covered. You can have your jewelry, even like if you have nice jewelry, you can put that on your renter's insurance just like your homeowner's insurance, and that can get covered in case of lost, theft, or stolen or things like that. It might be lost depending on what's going on, but there's some, I guess there's some overlap in those two insurances for those two worlds.
Long story short, you should have insurance, probably.
You should have insurance. Yeah, if you have valuables or if you care about your stuff, you should have insurance.
So,
and renter's insurance is really cheap. I know my renter's insurance is $21 a month. It's not expensive at all. I know home insurance is a lot more.
Yeah, because you have like your regular homeowner's insurance, but then I have a homeowner's warranty outside of that. So I'm still paying for the insurance, but I have the warranty that covers everything else. So my insurance will cover stuff like there was a flood, there was a fire, there was natural disaster, there probably break-in, stuff like that. But then like if something breaks in the house, my homeowner's insurance doesn't cover that, but my homeowner's warranty will. So the warranty will cover like the electrical, but that was an additional cost. It was like an additional $3,000, $5,000, something like that. I don't remember how much it was, but it covers you. Utilities.
Utilities. Most places I've ever been at, most landlords usually cover garbage, water, and then maybe one or two of the gases. So you got like heating gas and cooking gas. Depending on where you're at and which city you're in, it might change. But usually most landlords will always pay for water and water and garbage. Depending on where you're at, gas you might have to pay for, and internet and cable usually always falls onto the renter, unless it's like a high-rise building, and sometimes they have like a bundle deal that includes in your rent to cover all your utility. And some buildings will have it all. You just pay your rent, and that usually covers your water and your gas and everything else in that apartment. Most ones that I've been at, usually they'll cover water and garbage. Usually we'll end up paying for like cooking gas, maybe heating gas, and electric, of course, too. I forgot about electric, but yes, usually electricity falls on renters.
Yeah, we gotta pay for all that. I gotta pay for all that: the water, the gas, the electrical, all of the things, the garbage. All that falls on the homeowner, obviously, and all of those bills fluctuate every month. So I think that with you, when you're saying like they cover that, you don't have to worry about fluctuation. You can use as much as you want. Doesn't matter. Is that the case, or
that's the case? That's
nice.
Really, that is nice. Now, there, of course, we still pay for some like electric and such, so that will vary up and down, but usually not drastically as much as something like that. So that is a benefit there. Surprise!
You'd be walking around in the dark and just running all the water. That's how it works.
Basically, basically. And make it in cold water, because when you turn the heat on, then you're gonna start paying.
Oh yeah, then you got to pay for that. Yeah, we don't pay for that. We just it's cold water only. Okay, so yeah, those are that's another thing that you have to be you have to pay for as a homeowner. It just kind of comes with the territory. What are you gonna do? Not have water? Come on.
And I think a good segue from there is also then knowing your rights as either a homeowner, owner, or a renter, as far as what you can do in some situations, like. If things do go disarray, or just start going astray, I should say, you do have rights as a renter. But most people don't feel like you can do anything to your landlord, like whatever they say kind of goes. But if things are not right, if there's mold, if there's bed bugs, if there's your heat does not work or your water is not working and things like that, you do have rights to take legal action against your landlord or your management company and say, hey, it is your right that these need to be there, and if you don't, you either withhold rent, you can take them to court. There's a lot of things you can do in that case. At that point, consult a lawyer and do all your research before you want to go down that path. But you do have rights as a renter. Do not think you are beholden to the landlord. You have to do everything that they say, because you don't. You have rights just like they do, and you have to read them and know what's going on. And read that lease too. A lease is a contract, so read what's in there and make sure you understand what's going on there, especially when it comes to things like mold or something like that, and make sure that they will cover that, and make sure that you can withhold rent or whatever if things like that are not taken care of. And if it's not added in there, it's a contract, so you can make changes and such to it.
Yeah, I mean, you can do the same thing when it comes to the mortgage, not the mortgage, the paperwork you have for closing. There's a ton of stuff. There's 50,000 pages that you have to read. You get an attorney and they read all of that. But at the same time, read the HOA documents, see what's covered, see what's not. There was a crack in my foundation and they said, that's not covered. And I was like, in subsection C, it actually does say that if it's within such and such dimensions that it is covered by you. So they ended up having to come out and fix that type of stuff. So just understanding the rights that you have, as Roman said, and reading through the documentation to know that, this is going to be necessary. And pestering the HOA is sometimes necessary. Like sometimes they just don't want to do stuff because you're not being, persistent about it. So they don't think it matters all that much. And I'm like, nah, I need this done today. I'm gonna email you X, Y, and Z. I'm gonna call you. I'm gonna go to the office, whatever you have to do to make sure that they stay on top of doing what it is that you're paying them to do. Like typically people don't do that, and then they just miss out on the ability to have their whatever fixed. And
there's a good saying is, you give someone an inch, they take a mile. And companies and corporations, everything that cars sends out of paperwork, they would do that all the time. They're like, oh, if we just give them a little bit of time, they'll forget about this and they won't come back and bother us about this. And it's like, no, ask them again. Keep asking them until you get what you want, because they got to take care of it at some point.
Yeah.
If they don't, then cancel.
Yeah, you can't cancel your HOA, but you move. You can't cancel your HOA, I guess.
But you move. You go do somewhere else until you can. And actually bring me to another question, I guess, as far as the turnaround time for when you actually want to, you're actually looking to buy a house. You go do the thing. How long does it take to kind of move in? Because when it comes to renting, it's depending on once you sign that lease. Usually says on there what your move-in date and time and all that is. But I know for a house it could be months. For an apartment, typically it's only at the longest a month, or maybe the longest. And that's only because you're waiting for your current lease to end, and then you're doing that time to just pack up the old apartment, move to the new one, and all that jazz. So it's just normal stuff. So
it kind of depends on two factors. It depends on the seller. It depends on the buyer. So for me, as the purchaser of the house, I wasn't in a rush, and the seller was not also wasn't in a rush. So it took like 2 months. I saw the place, I put in a bid, they accepted the bid, I came back to see it again, I did X, Y, and Z, then we set a date for closing, and then after we closed on that day, we got the keys, but that was like probably a month and a half time frame. But when I go to sell the house, I can do a couple things. I can either say I'm looking for a quick close, which means that within 2 weeks, I'm trying to get somebody in, I'm trying to be out, and I'm trying to do a quick turnaround. But it also depends on the attorneys. Are they ready? Are they able to do that? Are your realtors going to be on top of the process? Because things can move fast if your people and your team are moving fast. Like my realtor, when I called and I was like, hey, how long is it going to take you to put my house on the market? They were like, if you want to put it on the market tonight, we'll put it on the market tonight. Like if you have people on your team that are willing to work, then you can do it pretty quickly. But then you also have to wait for the seller to come back and be like, or the buyer to be like, you know what, I'm not ready to do a quick close. I need a little bit more time than that. But it's all based off of, who's purchasing, who's selling, what you guys' time frame are. And you guys can obviously talk about that and kind of, because what I could do in theory is I could sell my house to you right now. You're like, hey, I like your house, I want to buy it. And I could sell it to you, and I could do what's called renter. I forgot what it's called. It's not rent to own, because pretty much I would sell you my house, so now you own it, but I'm paying you rent so I could stay here because I need a little bit more time for my house to close. So I would get the money for the house, but then I would start paying you rent because I need to stay here a little bit longer because the house that I'm going to isn't ready yet. So there's a lot of things that you can do in order to make sure that the time frame works. But if people like the house, like, you have to also look at the ebbs and flow of the market. So we know that in the wintertime, houses don't sell that well. Like houses just typically don't sell that well. But when it comes to school ending and when it comes to like May, like end of April and May, that's when things get hot. School is out, the summer is coming, it's warm outside, people are getting outside, people have money from their tax returns. So all of these factors are coming to play, which means that you can sell your house for more, but it also means that people are ready to purchase. So you can do really quick close based off of the time frame. If I tried to sell my house 2 months ago when there was blizzards every week, my house would still be sitting on the market. But it just kind of depends on the time frame, the market, and the team that you have around you.
Yeah, that makes sense. No one wants to move, especially in the Chicagoland area when it's 30 below and there's a bunch of ice on the ground. I know I for sure was not trying to move during those months. I think I had to move one time during the winter, and I was like, never again. Never again.
It's not gonna happen. I'm not doing that. I'd rather just wait it out. So we're over time. Let's go.
Let's wrap this up. We did say it was gonna be a little longer one. We warned y'all what was gonna happen. We did it.
Yeah, we're not sorry. Sterling statements. What you got?
sterling statements. I'm gonna throw it out there that I had a book challenge for myself kind of for this year, just to start reading more and even just trying audiobooks more. And this has been going well. I've got one audiobook going and one book I've been reading, and both have just been going really smooth. I'm just making progress on it and just keeping towards those goals that I've been just setting myself for the year.
That's what's up.
What about yours?
I'm in the process of, I wouldn't call it spring cleaning, but I'm in the process of looking at all of the things that I have access to that I'm not using. And I'm just like, let's purge, let's sell, let's donate. I'm big into donations. Find places that you can donate, that you can give stuff. That there's so many people that are less fortunate that you can give things to for free, and don't be concerned about, oh yeah, let's make sure that people see that and all that stuff. So I've been really into what I can get rid of and minimizing, and it's brought me so much peace to just know that, one, I'm helping somebody, but two, having a space that's like free and clear for your brain to just be able to kind of not be so cluttered and bogged down with everything that's actually happening in your brain. But then the physical space that you're in also contributes to your mental well-being. So I'm just in a better, more stable mental space because of my ability to declutter. And I would absolutely recommend that for anybody else that's feeling like there's just too much going on. Start getting rid of physical stuff, and then your mental capacity will also expand.
That makes sense. I love it, man. That was perfect.
Yes,
get on
sir.
Out of here. Y'all know what it is over here at Young Broke and Investing. G. We may be young, we might even be broke, but we always investing.
Till next time. Peace.
Yes, sir.